ranger was fueled by his fury, barely pausing on their journey for food or rest. Arlo thought it almost matched his own. What once was a small village was now a foul, Darkwing base, with all they needed to launch attacks all across the north. Warden and the Ranger fought tooth and paw, bow and blade, to drive back the bat filth.
Oh, pity.
Kazak had sent one of his strongest generals, Necromancer Guraz. His defeat would rob the bats of a great weapon. Warren was safe in Rabbit Paws once more. Gray Ears swore that if the Warden of the Wastes ever called for help, the rabbits would answer. Winter's Edge, the rabbits celebrated that their homes were safe once more. They longed to feel the crunch of snow under paw.
Under paw.
Despite all Arlo had done, the Darkwing threat was still growing. The North was running out of time. He told Leaf to call the War Council. Tomorrow they would make their plan. Arlo could not sleep a whisker. He wished more than anything that his father were here to tell him what to do.
Quand même belle sa chambre. Les détails et tout.
The nervous chatter silenced at Arlo's entrance. He did not sweeten the truth. The Darkwing numbers grew. They would return, and Winter's Edge could not stop them alone. He called Robin forward. Arlo was raised on tales of how the North could not rely on Southern kings. But he was desperate. The Ranger was sure King Reggie would prove different. Ordering the council to prepare for war, they set course for the Crimson Keep.
Ah, on va revoir le Reggie.
The Crimson Keep's dock was the greatest Arlo had seen. Robin explained it was built by master craftsmoles. He laughed, telling Arlo how ratfolk believed their king paid them by fighting huge warrior moles in an underground arena. The King card. A rare card indeed. Although rare, its qualities are not always positive. The Smith card. Highly sought after for its ability to change the qualities of other cards.
C'est incroyable. Oh, t'as le truc et tout. Là. Catacombe. Ouais, c'est vraiment comme dans le 1. À la cour.
The King's steward, Doug, stopped them before the throne room. He started at the news of war and then rushed away, muttering about how the armor would need to be polished.
On voit les mêmes bruits.
Dennis, the king's brother, was also curious to see this northerner. Dennis missed war. He could plainly see by Arlo's expression that was the warden's task. He hoped they could fight together someday. Arlo was nervous to meet this king. He hoped Reggie lived up to all he'd heard from Robin. He did not have to wait long. King Reggie was glad to see his old friend Robin was safe and bid him to tell his tale. Robin told of the death of his son by the ferocious Darkwings and begged the king prepare his forces to go north. Reggie was sad at the loss of Little John, but said that was not reason enough for the South to join a northern war. The king wished them well and turned to go. Arlo stepped forward, asking what the king would do when there was no Winter's Edge to shield the South. If they sent no help now, the Darkwings would not stop at their borders. Reggie listened to Arlo tell his tale. It brought back terrible memories of a father lost and a land left in ruin. A tale not unlike this young warden's. He held out his paw in friendship. King and warden, united, could stop any foe. The southern ratfolk would not simply leave the warmth of their homes for frozen lands they had never seen. A trial by combat would prove his worth. Arlo agreed. He would do whatever it took. News had spread swiftly. As Reggie led them to the tournament grounds, the streets were already full. Villagers craned their necks to see their warrior king and this strange northern challenger. Doug was an unlikely opponent for the first round. His small stature made it hard for him to wield a sword. But when it came to fighting for his king, Doug stood 10 paws tall.
falloir payer. Il va me baiser.
Doug was no match for Arlo's superior skill. Reggie could already see this would be a tournament that they would speak of through the ages.
Oh.
Dennis, veteran of the Green Ward's War and captain of the Royal Guard, would be a true challenge for Arlo. The crowd's cheers for the king's brother echoed off the arena walls. Was a veteran too, used to fighting monsters and Darkwings with ice under paw. Dennis did not compare. Now the crowd cheered for him.
Il fait plus la merde par l'autre.
Arlo's final opponent was the king himself. Reggie had seen off the frog invaders almost single-pawed and was beloved by his subjects. This fight would be a tale for their times. well matched. In stature and skill, there was not a whisker between them. They shook paws in truce. No rat could doubt Arlo's word. Now, Reggie said to meet him by the docks. Together, they would wipe out the Dark Wings once and for all. Together, they would attack Mount Cauldron. Seeing the king's forces training for battle, Arlo felt the stirrings of something he'd long thought dead in his heart. Hope. At the dock, Arlo's little heart leapt again at the strange contraption. If it was a boat or a house, he could not tell, nor why it had a giant sleeping fuzzlebug atop it. From inside emerged King Reggie. He was not alone. King Reggie introduced Bertil. Arlo felt something comforting in the turtle's presence. Bertil was proud to take the army to Mount Cauldron in his bug ship. They would make camp at Highland View, where Arlo could find them when his forces were ready. In a flap of its wings and a cloud of gas, the fuzzlebug took King Reggie and his army north. Whatever tasks Arlo had to finish, now was the time. Once the war began, there would be no turning back.
There would be no turning back. Je vais me donner ces cartes de tarot à l'autre.
With all their missing cards returned, Merlin took down the rune stone and handed it to Arlo in gratitude. Now all Merlin needed was a partner to play cards with. The farm's troubles, however, were far from over. Now the farmers were under attack by a giant winged beast. The elder begged for the warden's help once more. was too empty. Arlo followed a familiar scent. Blood. The body of the farmer missed him by a whisker. The winged beast was coming for him. The beast was injured, but Arlo could see its trail of smoke. At its end, he could finish what he started. The beast had another farmer lifeless in its talons. This would be its last. It had fled again, seeking its nest. It would not have long to recover, as the warden was soon on its tail.
Oh la vache. Parce que je l'ai mis dans la gueule. Ça serait beau ça. Casser le cul, casser le cul. Épuiser ma lame. Ta gueule toi.
Nestled among the eggs in the bird's nest was a farmer, and still alive. No doubt meant as a snack for the hatchlings. The farmer was free, and Arlo sent him home. He would not be these chicks' first meal. another runestone on its pillar. Arlo would decide later whether it was wrong to raid this tomb for its secrets. After he knew them, it slotted in perfectly. Arlo had heard tales of this tomb. Perhaps with more runestones, he might get to see it for himself. With the final rune in place, the ancient door opened into darkness. A faint wind rose and fell in his whiskers. Arlo laughed at his thought that something here was breathing. The burial chamber revealed both tales were true. A treasure hoard, and guarding it was the ancient Draugr Harrod Bluefang.
Enculé! Il y a eu... Putain, ça doit être une merde. Je vais la voir. Ça va chier. Alors, on va mettre ça. On va mettre... je sais pas si c'est vraiment très utile ça.
Chamber revealed both tales were true. A treasure hoard, and guarding it was the ancient Draugr Harrod Bluefang.
Oh non! Elle va me baiser. va voir. Hein. Peut-être ici le poison, c'est pas la meilleure des idées là. Ah, je vais équiper ça. Ça a l'air bien comme ça.
The burial chamber revealed both tales were true. A treasure hoard, and guarding it was the ancient Draugr Harrot Bluefang.
Oh non! Oh!
A fearsome warrior, now laid to rest. More importantly, Arlo had found his treasure.
Oh, rempart d'acier. Bon, point de fait. Je suis lourd, putain. Ah oui, c'est 90 de gars, j'avais pas fait gaffe, putain. Ah oui, non, c'est vénère en fait.
Winter's Edge, Arlo told Leif to gather all the clans. Tomorrow, they would make their war. Arlo went to bed, for once without despair. The king and the warden's forces together would make a last stand. They would sing of it forever. He wondered what sort of tale it would be. The clan's leaders listened to the warden and king's plan. They were nervous of this flying contraption, but their fear was as nothing compared to their iron will. They would take the mountain, the Sky Scorcher, and Count Kazak himself. Raising their weapons in salute, Arlo was glad to see his friends united, though the feeling was bittersweet. It seemed impossible all would return. King Reggie's camp had creatures of every clan, armed and ready to fight. At its heart, Bertil waited. Arlo felt again the sense of safety at the turtle, and took it as a good omen. Bertil bellowed the order, and they felt the ground fall away. The ship lurched, as did the soldiers' stomachs. They held their nerve. Against the bats, they would need it. They landed with a thud. Arlo loved mountains, or had loved the thought of them in the great tales of far away. But this one he did not like at all. Its icy wind chilled more than his fur. They made hasty camp, readying themselves for the fight. Keeping busy stopped the frost from biting.
faire mes combos avec ces armes à la con. Voilà, on met mes vraies armes. Poison, électricité. Le connard. Voilà, hache elle est sympa, mais je fais plus de dégâts quand c'est de l'élémentaire.
So it began. Side by side, the king and the warden hacked a path through the baths to the walls of Cauldron Castle. The way was shut, barred and guarded. Leathery wings beat all around. If they could not open the gate, it would be all for nothing. Sounded his horn. Out of the icy haze came Dennis, a barrel on his back, its fuse lit. The king had come prepared. The gate was shattered with a boom that echoed across the mountainside. It was a hammer blow to their enemies' hearts. Inside the castle, they found themselves in the chef's store. Before they could be disgusted at the contents, they had to take care of the chef. They moved in step, a flawless dance of blood and vengeance. Neither knew that their own blood united them, but perhaps, just then, they felt it.
Ouais, c'est vrai qu'ils sont frères. Moi je suis le bâtard. Ils sont demi-frères.
They stood together in fellowship, the clans of the Ratdom. Here they would make their final assault. Reggie raised his sword and issued the cry. Charge, army of the mighty Paw! Emerging through the mist at the base of Mount Cauldron, Arlo came upon the king, locked in combat. Count Kazakh and his undead Sky Scorcher. Arlo rushed to his side. But again, he was too late. The Sky Scorcher was gone, flying to the summit with the king in its claws. The despair took hold. Just then, he heard his friends fighting on. He could not abandon them. He stood tall. He would be their captain now, and they would follow, even under the shadow of Darkwings. Arlo found Rita battling the Darkwing Smith, and the Smith's mighty hammer soon overpowered her. Together, Arlo and Erica fought the Darkwing Smith. The fiery heat at the heart of the mountain burned hotter than any forge. Rita moved, clutching to life. Arlo ordered Erica to take her to camp. He would continue alone. His whiskers twitched and crackled. There was dark magic here. Sky Scorchers in cages. Abominations made by some spell. The screeches of dying bats echoed through the corridors. He knew these arrows. It was Robin, determined to rescue his king. Slashing and arrows flying, they fought their way toward the summit. Would the king be alive when they got there?
Comment ça?
They entered the huge throne room. They finally set eyes on the foul, laughing figure of Count Kazak, sat on his icy throne. Bertel kneeled exhausted before him. This pained the warden more than he could explain. Kazak left his beast to fight them. He had a king to kill. Arlo and Robin fought with all they had, their hope driving them on. The beast fell, but there was no time to rest. Leaving Robin to tend to Bertel, Arlo headed to the summit to find Reggie. icy wind bit at his fur as he emerged on the peak. He saw, silhouetted in the mist, Count Kazak, and in his claws he held King Reggie, dangling over the edge. With a shriek of victory, the Count let go of the king and seemed to melt into the fatal mist. They flew into battle. The Warden and the Count's weapons clashed, echoing across the mountain.
Oh putain. Ah, c'est trop lourd. Ah putain, chier. Oh non.
The Count's corrupted body fell heavy on the ground. Arlo rushed to the edge, calling for the king, but the only answer in the mist was the icy wind. The war was won, but Arlo could not feel the victory. He barely noticed his friends join him. The Fellowship bowed their heads in honor of their brave king. The tale of this war would be as much of loss as of winning. They returned to the Crimson Keep in near silence, each with their thoughts. There would be no victory parades. Arlo heard a commotion ahead. In the throne room were raised voices. Bertil stood in front of Reggie's throne, holding the crown, asking who should now carry this burden. Dennis barged forward to claim it. He was brother of the king. It was his by birth. Robin stepped forward and proclaimed that Arlo was rightfully king. Without him, there would be no kingdom to rule. He had proved himself on the peak. He was not alone. Leaders of the clans stepped forward and echoed their favor of the warden. Arlo objected. He had no claim here.
Effectivement aussi.
Bertil slammed his staff into the floor to silence the rising voices. He had a secret to tell. Arlo's father was King Rattus. Bertil himself had delivered him as a child to the warden. He had a claim, if he was willing to take it. Arlo felt the truth of it, and the paw of destiny seemed to push him forward to take his place upon the throne. Bertil placed the crown upon his head. The weight of rule was his now. Dennis had been forgotten in the shouts of joy from the clans. He raised his blade and swore vengeance. It was his birthright, and he would reclaim it from this usurper. Arlo set aside the warden and became the king. A new dawn broke over the land, bright and clear. The king sensed it would not last. The promise of his half-brother would surely mean war would come again. But that, as they say, is a tale for another time.
Oh putain, ça s'appelle Ashley Holmes. Reggie. C'est pas fini? Mais si c'est fini, peut-être pour un DLC. Je pense. Il y a là aussi.
Short Tongue was panicked. He had seen the Sky Scorchers arrive from Mount Cauldron and knew what this meant for the safety of Bogmire Forge. He asked Arlo to hunt the beasts and rid them from the rift. The stench of the Toad Core's rotting body had drawn Arlo to the area, but it seemed like it had also attracted a hungry Sky Scorcher.
j'ai de dégâts.
As soon as the Toad Core eye hit the ground, Arlo knew he was in for a fight. Arlo wondered if it was him that was now being hunted. Arriving at the nest, Arlo was surprised to see a Toad Core, especially as they had become a favorite meal of the Scorcher. As the Toad Core scoffed down one of the eggs, it became very clear why it had been lured in.
Jean, j'ai esquivé. Quel saloperie.
nest, Arlo was surprised to see a toad core, especially as they had become a favorite meal of the Scorcher. As the toad core scoffed down one of the eggs, it became very clear why it had been lured in. With the Sky Scorcher vanquished, Arlo toyed with the idea of destroying its last surviving egg. Deciding to keep the egg, Arlo was sure it would be useful in the future. The owls of Nestminster were flustered. The Darkwing's captured Sky Scorchers had made their way to the Golden Forest. If they were allowed to nest in the forest, then it would not be long before they rendered it to a pile of smoking ashes. The Sky Scorchers had been busy scouting the Golden Forest for a meal. Arlo knew he needed to stop them before they were able to nest and lay eggs. Although there was no nest, it was clear that this Sky Scorcher was preparing a meal for its soon-to-hatch offspring. Although Arlo was too late for this owl, he was determined to protect Nestminster.
Aïe.
The cultists defending the Scorcher's nest were clearly looking for a new leader. Arlo would kill two birds with one stone today. With the Sky Scorcher defeated, The threat to the Golden Forest was gone. As Arlo looked down into the Scorcher's nest, the single egg glimmered in his eyes. Unable to bring himself to destroy it, Arlo kept it for himself. Who knew if it would come in handy later? The Sky Scorchers that had escaped from Mount Cauldron had made their way to the outskirts. The farmers of Mossbug Farm were worried for their livestock. Arlo knew better. They should be worried for their own lives. Tracking the beast revealed to Arlo that the farmers need not worry about their livestock, as for now, the Sky Scorcher had bigger prey in its sights. Now that the beast was injured, the sheep bugs were a prized snack. Arlo knew he needed to stop the Sky Scorcher before it barbecued the whole flock. Upon tracking the beast to its nest, Arlo wondered if he had made a mistake. But he soon realized that it was this monster bird that was mistaken. The egg in that nest was no monster bird egg. The Sky Scorcher was defeated. Its singular egg gleamed in the nest. Destroying it felt like a waste for such a rare item. Arlo wondered if he could be the first rat to discover how to hatch a Scorcher egg. As Arlo approached the statue, the familiar pulse of energy began to buzz throughout his body. From his tail to his whiskers, Arlo felt stronger than he had ever done before.
Oh.
The mole sobbed at his empty paint pot. He was moved at the Warden of the Waste's offer to risk his life to bring him paint. Arlo was sure that's not what he'd said. But the mole explained this blue pigment was found only in the blood of an iceworm. The keen ears of the rabbits had heard frost-footed centipedes on the march. With the Warren's defenses in tatters, they turned to the Warden for aid.